In this video, I want to share the results of an experiment that I did to prove that understanding 100% of your target language is impractical. Before discussing my findings, I want to leave a disclaimer that this video is not intended to discourage anyone from aiming as high as possible regarding their language studies. This video should instead be viewed as a healthy reality check in case you are beginning to feel discouraged or demotivated toward the acquisition of your target language. Let's jump into this. When I started studying Japanese many years ago, I had this belief that I would one day be able to comprehend 100% of what I heard in the language if I just studied hard enough. I never questioned, though, whether or not that goal was practical. I'm a native speaker of the English language. I decided to put my English abilities to the test to see whether I could even understand 100% of raw media in my native language. The way I see it, if I can't do something in my native language, I don't need to be able to do it in my target language either. After all, native speakers are often viewed as the golden standard of what a language learner may hope to achieve in their language studies ability-wise. I decided to watch 2 movies in English without the use of subtitles, one of my favorites that I've seen before, and one that I haven't seen before. Using subtitles would have definitely improved my comprehension, but I decided against that because this experiment was designed to see how much I could catch by ear, and watching a movie with subtitles would be a cross between listening and reading comprehension. I used a ticker counter app on my phone to keep track of how many times I missed something. I defined a miss as follows: not catching something that was said, not knowing a word that was used including names of people, places, or field-specific terminology, or not understanding a reference that was made, either cultural or otherwise. So, the first movie I chose to watch was Jurassic Park. I've probably seen this movie around 50 times so far, and I chose it to see how well I do with a movie I'm already familiar with to give myself the best chance of understanding as much as possible. Once I got into this, I quickly realized that I hadn't accounted for certain things such as mumble lines in the background, so I want to say ahead of time that the number of misses that I was able to keep track of is likely not entirely accurate. There were lines of Spanish sprinkled into the movie in the beginning as well, but I obviously didn't count anything that wasn't in English. I had already counted 10 misses by the time Dr. Grant was done traumatizing a kid with his velociraptor claw. By the time the Brachiosaurus appeared, I was up to 25 misses, and I was just around 50 misses by the time the T-Rex broke out of the paddock. By the end of the movie, I had clocked 66 misses in total. 66 misses in a 2-hour movie. Honestly, I don't know exactly what to say about this number considering that I didn't know what to expect going into this. Regardless of how accurately I was able to keep track, I know for an absolute fact that there were plenty of lines that I failed to hear correctly despite attempting to keep my attention on the audio and movie the entire way through. Seeing as I failed to comprehend something 66 times in a movie I had seen dozens of times, I wasn't feeling too optimistic about how I'd do with a movie I'd never seen before. I chose the movie The Martian for my next test. This movie was released in 2015. Again, I made sure not to use any subtitles. First off, I want to say that the movie was fantastic. After doing my best to stay focused on the movie for 2.5 hours straight, I ended up clocking a whopping 160 misses. Again, I can't vouch for the accuracy of that number. I found myself missing all kinds of things including a boatload of space jargon and a Lord of the Rings reference. 160 misses. That's one hell of a lot of misses for a person who is a native speaker of the English language. I was 17 years old when this movie first came out, so had I gone to see it back then, my comprehension would have likely been far worse. Although this experiment was not conducted in a strict scientific way, I definitely learned a lot from my experience doing it. For example, I was surprised at how many times I was unsure of what people were saying without the aid of subtitles. There were several lines that I wasn't able to parse in the first movie, and tons of lines that sounded like gibberish to me in the second. If I were hired to create accurate subtitles for these movies, I'm not terribly confident that I could. These movies can both be placed within the science fiction category and thus might be considered by many to be far more difficult to understand than, say, a movie about everyday life. However, that doesn't change the fact that I failed to comprehend something over 200 times across 4.5 hours of content in my own native language. It's therefore more than plausible to conclude that I definitely don't understand everything I come across in English media, and if I can't do it in English, I don't even know why I was trying to in my L2, it simply just wasn't practical. Again, I wish to reiterate that this video was not meant to discourage anyone from aiming as high as possible when studying a language. Rather, this video should actually be taken as a form of encouragement. If any of you are starting to beat yourselves up for not understanding various things even after years of studying, it's likely that you're doing a better job than you think, so give yourselves credit for what you do understand instead of what you don't. After all, not even native speakers understand 100% of their own respective languages. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you found it entertaining and useful. If any of you try this experiment yourselves, I'd love to hear your results in the comments below. You can simply download any ticker counter app off the App Store to keep track of how many times you miss something. Have a great day, and I'll catch you later.